राज्यसभा में पहली बार अभिषेक मनु सिंघवी और सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी आमने सामने थे। यूं तो दोनों माने हुए वकील हैं, लेकिन ये पहला मौका था जब कोर्ट के बाहर एक दूसरे पर दोनों वार कर रहे थे। सबसे पहले आपको अभिषेक मनु सिंघवी का बयान सुनाते हैं, जिसमें उन्होंने सफाई में अपनी बात रखी।
It's a letter written to one Peter Hule by Hashke, who says, "Dear Peter, given that Mrs. Gandhi is the driving force behind the helicopter, behind the deal, she will fly no longer with MI8. Mrs. Gandhi and her closest advisors are the persons that the English ambassador should. These persons should be addressed by the English ambassador. The English ambassador in India is called the High Commissioner. The advisors are listed hereby." And then after one para, he says the advisors are the Prime Minister, Ahmed Patel, Pranab Mukherjee, Narayanan, Oscar Fernandez, etc. Now, sir, whichever way this sentence is read, howsoever distorted it is read, I want to ask myself, does it suggest that anybody talked to any of these persons to offer a bribe? Is it not plain English that they are stating the obvious, that people who use and fly on these helicopters are VVIPs, and they would not want to fly in old, outdated machines called MI8? On this logic, everybody mentioned in the next paragraph, from the current president to several other names, are all culpable merely because they find a mention. Sir, is this the way we have to tilt and windmills? There is not anything here about anybody except a statement of fact that VVIPs travel in these helicopters, and these helicopters would be required because the old helicopters would not be acceptable to them. And I hope nobody is suggesting that the advice of Mr. Hashke is to request the British ambassador to go and bribe these people. Second, this judge who wrote this judgment, more than 1,000-page judgment, he's called the president, Judge Maiga. How did he understand this detailed inquiry over 1 year? We have had his benefit. You know, the Italians have an inquisitorial system whereby judges can speak even after the judgment, not like our adversarial system. So the judge speaks extensively to a channel in India. And I'm only quoting that part about the CP. We'll come to the VPs and the APs later. He says, "We have no evidence against Sonia," I'm quoting, unquoting. "We have no evidence against Sonia Gandhi. Only a mention of her in a fax. The translation of the fax was sent to Mr. Michel. Ms. Gandhi has been indicated as someone who will fly in the VVIP helicopters. The same place is the mention of Mr. Manmohan Singh. This manuscript was found in the jail of Mr. Orsi. He wrote this slip of paper with the names of the Italian Prime Minister, the Indian Prime Minister, the ambassador, etc. So now, are we, sir, with great respect, this proud, largest democracy in the world, a banana republic, that we have no faith in our courts? We have a faith in a misreading of an Italian court whose president says the correct way to read it is this. The president is saying this of that court."
अब बारी स्वामी के जवाब देने की थी और स्वामी ने सबसे पहले सिंघवी को उनके हार की याद दिलाई। साथ ही सोनिया राहुल पर चल रहे पटियाला हाउस कोर्ट के केस के जरिए चुटकी भी ली। देखिए जरा स्वामी का ये अंदाज।
I will begin by saying that Mr. Singhvi's reply was the usual one that I hear in courts from him. And recently, after arguing against me, he lost in the High Court and then against in the Supreme Court. And I hope to defeat him again in the Patiala Court very soon. But I'm saying that this has got nothing to do with vendetta. This has got nothing to do with the imagination on which we make these allegations. We are at an early stage of prosecution, that is, it's in fact in the investigative stage. And therefore, I would like to make three things very clear. First is, what are the admitted facts, which they cannot deny also. And then out of that, those admitted facts, what is the criminality? And finally, the third part would be, how do we proceed now on the basis of what we know, where I'll make some suggestions to the government. So first of all, I'd like to say that the facts, admitted facts, are in Parliament questions, answers to Parliament questions. The CAG report laid on the table of the House in 2013, August 13, 2013. The Italian High Court, equivalent of Italian High Court judgment. These are admitted facts. And I'll begin first by saying that, yes, it is true that the NDA had initiated the process for buying 8 new helicopters to replace 6 old helicopters which were purchased in 1988. But the objective was that VVIPs should be able to fly to those remote areas such as Siachen or Northeast, and therefore ought to fly at heights above 6,000 meters and should be out of the range of shoulder rockets. So in Siachen, there are shoulder rocket people in the other side of the border, or whatever it's called, the line of control. And therefore, the helicopter should not be shot down by a shoulder rocket. So it had to be sufficient height, and therefore, the Air Force was of the view that it should be at least 6,000 meters. Now,
आगे अभी स्वामी के वार सिंघवी पर जारी थे और एक एक कर लगातार सिंघवी के सवाल पर स्वामी जवाब दे रहे थे।
Now, Mr. Singhvi, taking advantage of the fact that most of us here are not lawyers, quoted a judgment of the Hawala, which he said that it was rejected, Mr. Advani was freed, Mr. Sharad Yadav was freed, everybody was freed. And then he said, no, this is no. He should read the whole judgment again or read the judgment fully here. The Evidence Act makes it very clear that if, while the conspiracy is being executed, these are prima facie evidence for prosecution. And therefore, what happened in the Hawala matter is after everything had been executed, then this fact was discovered. It could not be used as evidence in the final trial where the charges have been framed. There is a distinction. Today, on the basis of AP and my suspecting, you know who, the CBI can go and interrogate him. All the names mentioned there, including the allegation that the Prime Minister of India, then Prime Minister of India, was contacted or was not contacted, that only interrogation can tell us, or what we call as recording of the evidence witness under 156 CRPC. What it says is that a plea was made to somebody in high place in Italy to make the Prime Minister of Italy contact our Prime Minister, of whom I have great regard. I know that personally he will do nothing wrong, but he takes orders very easily. That's his major minus point. Now, I would say that because his name appears so specifically, and the judge says that after that we never got any documents except a CAG report and the contract that was signed between the two countries, or the helicopter company and the Ministry of Defense. That's all we received. So we need to ask Mr. Manmohan Singh whether you had decided not to give any documents to the Italian government even despite their request. If so, did you make the decision yourself? Was it a cabinet decision, or it was a super cabinet decision, or somewhere else you got the orders from? He has to make it clear. And I would say, quoting the letter of Christian Michel, the person named there should also be interrogated, in my opinion, interrogated first, because it says that that person was the driving force behind this deal. That person was not a military person. That person has no qualification to talk about military technologies. And if she is the driving force, the CBI has a right to speak to her and say, what do you know about this case, under 156 CRPC. Now, the criminality has been established because the total commission is roughly 250 crores. There's a pie chart given in the judgment. It says how it was distributed. So what I would say, Mr. Deputy Chairman, is that the facts, unadmitted facts, and admitted facts and
ठीक है, जो और स्पीकर्स हैं उनको हम विड्रॉ करते हैं। पार्टी का भी टाइम खत्म हो गया, ये ध्यान रखिएगा, आपकी पार्टी का भी टाइम खत्म हो गया, इसलिए बोलने दीजिए। हम अपनी पार्टी के सारे मेंबर्स को विड्रॉ करते हैं जो और बोलने वाले हैं।
On page 225.
सर इनकी मेडन स्पीच है, मेडन स्पीच पे इतने सीनियर मेंबर्स की मेडन स्पीच पे नहीं रोका जाता सर।
If it is made and speech is only 20 minutes. Now you have spoken for. ठीक है।